What if the snack sitting in your hand right now wasn't really food at all? Not natural, not harmless, just a cocktail of dyes, additives, and chemical coatings molded to look like something safe. Across America, millions still trust those bright boxes and cartoon mascots, believing that if it's sold in Walmart, it must be fine. But behind that colorful packaging lies a truth few are ready to face. For older Americans trying to manage blood pressure, diabetes, or inflammation, that harmless bag of treats could be more dangerous than anyone realizes. Because some of the ingredients hiding inside are banned overseas for a reason. The kind that Europe's food regulators say don't belong anywhere near the human body. These are the 8 Walmart snacks Europe banned. And what's inside them might change the way you see your favorite aisle forever. Skittles. They say you can taste the rainbow, but the real question is, what's inside that rainbow? Skittles look innocent, fun, and nostalgic, a candy that's been part of every road trip, movie night, and Halloween bucket for decades. Yet behind those cheerful colors lies one of the biggest food controversies in the world. For years, the European Union has refused to allow one ingredient found in US Skittles: titanium dioxide, also known as E171. It's what gives Skittles their vibrant, almost glossy sheen. In America, it's still permitted by the FDA in small amounts, considered safe for consumption. But European regulators saw things differently. In 2022, the EU officially banned titanium dioxide after scientific panels found it could accumulate in the body over time and might damage DNA cells. The risk wasn't immediate, but it was serious enough for them to say no more. Mars Wrigley, the company behind Skittles, promised to phase out the ingredient. But many older batches and regional stock still list titanium dioxide right on the label, sold openly in US stores, including Walmart. That means a bag of candy banned in France, Germany, and Italy can still sit on an American checkout rack completely legal. The irony? Europe didn't ban Skittles as a brand, only the chemical that makes them shimmer. But that small change says a lot about how two regions see food safety. In the EU, if something's potentially harmful, it's removed until proven safe. In the US, it's kept until proven dangerous. And that gap leaves consumers caught in the middle. The next time you pour a handful of Skittles into your palm, remember this: the very thing that makes them look so bright could also be what makes them illegal across an entire continent. It's not just candy anymore, it's chemistry dressed up as flavor. Hostess Donettes. They look harmless, those soft, powdery rings stacked in a plastic bag, perfect with coffee or as a late-night snack. Hostess Donettes have been around for generations, the kind of sweet comfort food you grab without thinking twice. But in Europe, these sugary treats never made it past the border. The reason is simple. What makes them look so perfectly white is something regulators across the Atlantic decided should never be eaten. The key culprit is titanium dioxide, E171, the same whitening agent banned by the European Union in 2022. In the United States, Hostess still uses it to give Donettes their signature bright powdered finish, helping the coating stay fresh and visually appealing. But to European scientists, titanium dioxide isn't a harmless cosmetic additive. It's a nanoparticle that can linger in the body, potentially damaging DNA and inflaming tissues when consumed repeatedly. That uncertainty led to an all-out ban, not only in candy, but also in pastries and powdered desserts. Hostess insists its products are safe under current US guidelines, and technically, they're right. The FDA continues to classify titanium dioxide as generally recognized as safe, at least for now. But that's small comfort for anyone trying to eat clean or avoid chemicals that Europe has already blacklisted. For older Americans managing digestive issues, autoimmune conditions, or inflammation, those tiny white specks can mean more than a sugar rush. They're a reminder that what's legal in one country can be forbidden in another. Not because of taste, but because of health. Every bag of Donettes sold in Walmart tells the same story: convenience over caution, nostalgia over nutrition. You might see a soft, sweet breakfast pastry, but European regulators see something entirely different: a processed product coated in a substance too risky to stay on shelves. It's a stark contrast between two worlds. In America, the Donette is comfort food. In Europe, it's a scientific red flag. Little Debbie snack cakes. They're the taste of childhood. Lunchbox favorites wrapped in crinkly plastic, promising sweetness and nostalgia in every bite. Zebra cakes, cosmic brownies, Christmas tree cakes. For millions of Americans, Little Debbie has always felt harmless, wholesome even. But if you tried to sell those same cakes in Europe, you'd hit a wall of regulations. The reason? A cocktail of synthetic dyes and preservatives that European food authorities no longer trust. Several varieties of Little Debbie snack cakes contain titanium dioxide, E171, the same whitening agent banned in the EU since 2022. It's used to brighten frosting and cream fillings, giving them that clean, snowy look. But that's not all. You'll also find Red 40, Yellow 5, and Yellow 6, artificial colorants restricted in Europe because of links to hyperactivity in children and potential carcinogenic byproducts. In the United States, they're still legal and widely used. In the European Union, each of those colors either carries a warning label or is outright banned from food production. Then there's TBHQ, a preservative designed to keep oils and fats from spoiling. Studies have connected long-term TBHQ consumption to immune system disruption and inflammation in lab animals. The EU's stance: if it can't be proven harmless over time, it doesn't belong in food. But here's the part that's truly alarming. Little Debbie's marketing still leans heavily on words like family, homemade, and goodness. Yet those soft cakes are factory engineered to last for months without changing color or texture. A shelf life miracle made possible only through the chemicals Europe doesn't allow. For someone managing heart issues, diabetes, or high blood pressure, those additives can quietly pile on risk factors you never see on the label. It's not about sugar anymore, it's about exposure. In the EU, Little Debbie's nostalgic charm would have to be reformulated from the ground up. In the US, it's still sold by the truckload every day. One side of the Atlantic calls it a snack. The other calls it a science experiment. Pop-Tarts. They pop out of the toaster, smell like childhood, and taste like pure sugar-coated comfort. Pop-Tarts are one of those snacks that feel too familiar to question. Warm, sweet, and easy. But in Europe, you won't find the same frosted pastries lining supermarket shelves. Not because Kellogg's isn't global, but because the US version of Pop-Tarts simply doesn't meet European food safety standards. Pop-Tarts owe their color and shelf life to a trio of chemicals that the European Union has either banned or heavily restricted. The first is titanium dioxide, E171, used to make the frosting bright and reflective. In 2022, European food authorities banned titanium dioxide after concluding that it could accumulate in the body and potentially damage DNA. Kellogg still uses it in certain US flavors like frosted strawberry and brown sugar cinnamon, though the ingredient has quietly disappeared from the European versions. Then comes BHT, short for butylated hydroxytoluene, a synthetic antioxidant added to keep the oils in the pastry from going rancid. It's legal in the United States, but banned for use in food across much of Europe because of animal studies linking it to hormone disruption and possible cancer risks. High fructose corn syrup rounds out the mix, another ingredient phased out in many European food products due to obesity and metabolic concerns. The end result is a pastry that's more chemistry than breakfast. Pop-Tarts can sit on a Walmart shelf for nearly a year without spoiling, thanks to additives Europe refuses to touch. And while Kellogg's insists their products are safe and FDA approved, that approval doesn't always mean the same thing overseas. For older adults or anyone managing blood sugar or heart issues, the ingredients inside a frosted Pop-Tart make it less of a treat and more of a trap. What Europe saw as a safety risk, America still markets as a morning staple. So while it might look like breakfast, that toaster pastry carries a warning label the US never printed, one that Europe didn't need to. Mentos gum. It's small, minty, and perfectly packaged, the kind of product you toss into your Walmart cart without a second thought. Mentos gum has built its reputation on freshness, a quick fix for coffee breath or long commutes. But what gives those smooth white tablets their shine and color is the same reason they wouldn't be allowed on store shelves in Europe. The culprit is once again titanium dioxide, E171, the whitening and opacifying agent the European Union banned from food in 2022. In the US, it's still used in Mentos gum to create that glossy coating that makes each piece look spotless and uniform. It doesn't change the flavor or texture, but it makes the gum look appealing, clean, and pure. The problem, according to European food safety authorities, is that it isn't really harmless. After years of review, the European Food Safety Authority found titanium dioxide could build up in the body and might cause DNA damage when consumed over time. That was enough for the EU to remove it completely from food and confectionery products, gum included. For Americans, the presence of titanium dioxide goes mostly unnoticed. It's buried deep in the ingredient list, hiding behind words like color or whitener, but that single additive has become a line in the sand between what's acceptable in American food science and what Europe considers too risky. In fact, European versions of Mentos have already been reformulated. The Mentos gum you'd buy in London or Paris is free from titanium dioxide, while the US version still relies on it. The difference lies not in flavor, but in philosophy. One side eliminates doubt, the other tolerates it. It's a small reminder of how uneven global food standards can be. Two identical packs of gum, same brand, same logo, but only one meets Europe's definition of safe to chew. So before you reach for another piece of Mentos, remember this. That minty burst comes with a side of chemistry that Europe decided to spit out. Trident gum, it's one of America's most trusted names in gum, the brand that promised to keep your mouth healthy with 4 out of 5 dentists recommending it. But while Trident has long marketed itself as a smarter choice, the European Union doesn't see it that way. The version you'll find in US stores, including Walmart, contains an ingredient that's officially banned from European food and confectionery. That ingredient is titanium dioxide, E171, the same whitening agent that's quietly appeared in countless American candies, pastries, and gums. In Trident, it's what gives the pieces their clean, polished look. But the European Food Safety Authority ruled in 2021 that titanium dioxide could no longer be considered safe for consumption, even in trace amounts. By 2022, the European Union fully banned it from all food and beverages. Trident gum still uses it in the United States because the FDA hasn't made the same move. For American regulators, the additive remains generally recognized as safe. Yet that phrase hides a bigger truth. The safety data the FDA relies on hasn't been meaningfully updated in decades. Europe's review, by contrast, drew on modern studies showing how nanoparticles of titanium dioxide might cross into organs and accumulate in tissues. For Europeans, the risk was unacceptable. The divide between the two regions couldn't be clearer. In Paris, the same pack of gum would be pulled from shelves. In Florida, it sits next to the register at Walmart, perfectly legal. The company isn't breaking any rules, but the rules themselves are the problem. Trident built its image on purity, but the shine on each piece tells another story. It's the same lesson repeated across so many of these banned snacks. What looks clean isn't always safe. In the end, that glossy piece of gum in your pocket is more than a breath freshener. It's a snapshot of two very different definitions of healthy. Peeps marshmallows. They look innocent, even cute, little pastel chicks and bunnies that appear every Easter like clockwork. Peeps are as American as springtime itself, a sugary symbol of nostalgia and childhood. But in Europe, these colorful marshmallows are considered too risky to sell in their US form. The reason is not the sugar or the marshmallow, but the color, the very thing that makes them so appealing. Most varieties of Peeps contain red dye number 3, also known as erythrocene, a synthetic colorant that's been banned as a food additive in the European Union for years. Red 3 gives Peeps their pink and red hues, but studies dating back to the 1990s linked it to thyroid tumors in lab animals. While the FDA banned Red 3 from use in cosmetics decades ago, it's still legal in American foods, which means it can appear in everything from cake icing to, yes, marshmallow chicks. The EU took a harder stance. Under its food safety framework, Red 3 is restricted almost entirely, permitted only for the most limited decorative uses like candied cherries. For every other product, including candy, it's off the market. That means a single pack of Peeps, as sold in Walmart today, would violate European law unless reformulated. The irony is that Peeps were designed to look harmless, soft, and joyful. Yet their ingredients list reads more like a chemistry set. Artificial dyes, preservatives, and stabilizers that make them look identical year after year. For people sensitive to synthetic colors, especially children or older adults managing allergies, that innocent marshmallow becomes a chemical test tube. Even in the US, public pressure has been mounting. In 2023, consumer groups petitioned the FDA to finally remove Red 3 from all foods. But until that happens, Peeps will stay a candy that's legal here and banned there. Europe saw a warning in the colors America turned into nostalgia. Those pink chicks and bunnies might look sweet, but they're bright for all the wrong reasons. Mountain Dew. Few drinks scream America quite like Mountain Dew. It's bright, hyper-caffeinated, and marketed as the fuel of energy, youth, and rebellion. But that same neon green glow that makes it stand out in every Walmart cooler is exactly what made it illegal across much of Europe. What gives Mountain Dew its kick and color isn't only sugar and caffeine. It's a chemical ingredient that European regulators have refused to approve for years. The problem lies in brominated vegetable oil, BVO, a synthetic emulsifier used to keep citrus flavoring evenly mixed throughout the drink. Without it, the oil from natural flavorings would separate and float to the top, leaving the beverage cloudy and inconsistent. In the United States, the FDA allowed BVO for decades, classifying it as safe in small amounts. But in Europe, safety agencies saw a very different picture. Studies suggested bromine compounds could build up in the body over time, potentially affecting the thyroid, skin, and nervous system. The EU banned its use in food and beverages altogether, forcing soda companies there to reformulate or withdraw their citrus products. For years, US Mountain Dew bottles proudly listed BVO among the ingredients, something you'd never see in an EU version. PepsiCo has since begun removing it from new formulations, but older or imported stock and several spin-offs, like Mountain Dew Code Red, still contain it in the US market. And even when it's gone, other controversial additives like Yellow 5 tartrazine remain, a dye that Europe requires warning labels for because of its potential to trigger hyperactivity in children. It's a striking contrast. In Europe, the same drink would be illegal. In the US, it's a billion-dollar brand sold everywhere from gas stations to school vending machines. For older adults, diabetics, or anyone managing heart conditions, that combination of caffeine, dyes, and chemical emulsifiers isn't just unhealthy, it's dangerous. Mountain Dew may promise adrenaline and energy, but to European regulators, it's closer to a toxic cocktail in a plastic bottle. They called it food, but what we found was a system that forgot what real food even means. Color instead of nutrition, chemicals instead of care, and loyalty built on habit, not trust. For millions of Americans, especially those managing blood pressure, diabetes, or inflammation, every bite from these snacks isn't comfort, it's a warning. So next time you tear open that bag or pop open that bottle, stop and think. Is it really food or just another product dressed up as pleasure? If you want more deep dives into what's really on your plate, you know what to do. Like, comment, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, which banned Walmart snack shocked you the most?